tell you now, as we hit the cusp of 6,000 doorsteps across this vast region, and several visits to the isolated communities, folks know and appreciate that. So we've got one more week left to go, or I guess 6 days, yes.
6 days.
And we still approach this the way we did back in 2008. We're a couple of votes behind. And I just can't do this without your support, your enthusiasm. This was tonight an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for all the great support you've given me over the course of time and for the next 6 days when the Conservative riding will continue to have a strong voice who delivers results for great Prime Minister. To help kick off that final push, I'm absolutely delighted to have Mrs. Harper here. She loves Northwestern Ontario. We had a chance to go canoeing out in Thunder Bay earlier this summer. It was fantastic. She loves the trails out here. She was on the Tunnel Island Trail today, just experiencing a classic slice of life here in Kenora in Northwestern Ontario. I'm delighted to have her here tonight. Welcome to the great Kenora riding, Mrs. Harper. Thank
you. Greg, I think you all know you have like one of the best MPs there are. He is amazing. He's smart. He's moved up quite. He started, as you said, a parliamentary secretary, and now he's a minister. So that's it doesn't always happen that quickly. So and he's been a really good. Another thing I would like to do is to thank you for supporting Greg. If he didn't get your support, he couldn't support my husband, and my husband needs to get about 160, 170 members of parliament, just like Greg, and then he stays the Prime Minister. It's very hard. It's a tough job. It's always tough. It's always hard. And here you have probably three candidates that you know, in some places, yeah, it's tough. You have 3 good candidates. I think this one's the best candidate. Voted. So what I'm going to remind you, the thing that we don't want to happen is we want you to remind your friends and family about all the things that can happen if we don't get reelected. The sun will shine and Canada will be Canada, but people, there is a big difference between us and the other parties. This isn't like, oh, it's time for change, we'll just see if it's just a different shade or different color. It is a really big difference. I think we've calculated, you've seen my husband the last few days, we don't have any money to throw on the table.
No, we don't.
My husband too. Yeah, Eugene, we like that. To throw on the money to show people it's well over per family, over $6,000. Income splitting for families, $2,000. Income splitting for seniors. The universal child care benefit. I know some of the other parties are promising daycare again. I remember my husband ran in 1993 and the Liberals were planning, my son wasn't even born, and the Liberals were promising child care, and my son is now 19, his second year of university, and there was no Liberal child care, no child care spaces. So we like to remind people that $15 day daycare is a wonderful idea, but it's never going to happen. So please remind people. The other big one that helps just about every Canadian, and not just wealthy Canadians, is the tax-free savings account. We want to move them from $5,000 to $10,000, and the other 2 parties are not. They don't like, and they're one of the best ways to save money for average. I think half of the people that take them make under $60,000. So it's a great. The other big one people love is the home renovation tax credit. That's great. Another one. I know, and that's a good one for local businesses and things like. So it's another one. People love that one. Again, won't be there. The other one in places like this, and I'm from a working class family, and I always love hardworking people as apprentices. The apprenticeship job creation tax credit. That's another important one. We put a big important places like this. People have, you know, my dad was an electrician. My brother's a millwright. My cousin's a welder, my brother-in-law is a heavy-duty mechanic, my 2 nephews are power engineers. So in my family, everybody is a working person, and they love the other thing we brought in was tax credits for tools and things like, remember businessmen could write off a drink, but a working person couldn't write off their hammer. Like, so we changed that. I know some of the people in the media made fun of my husband about that. Like, what does he know about tools? And I thought, boy, when he sits down at Christmas dinner, he's told. He might not know about tools, but he's told about them. So that's what happens when you're from a working class family. The other thing that we've worked very hard to do is come in with a surplus. The surplus this year should be $5.2 billion, which is a lot of money, but we can spend that money on, put some of it towards debt reduction, like anybody. If you make a little bit extra money, you want to pay off your debts, pay off a little bit to your mortgage. We do billions of dollars in infrastructure. Just list some of your infrastructure that we've done here. Just give me 5.
We need all night.
Yeah, but just do your ones that you're most proud of, that you think that you brought to the attention of Ottawa that they might not have known about.
The White Cap Pavilion here in Kenora. The wastewater treatment plant in Dryden to the tune of $30 million. Refurbishing the CN station in Sioux Lookout and building its first skyscraper. Obviously, building the municipal complex in Ear Falls. I think we've got some Ear Falls folks here tonight. Up in Red Lake, a skateboard park and a brand new airport. Should I stop there?
You did a couple more.
We did a pretty good job at the forums of lifting. I think it was pretty clear to our opposition just what we had accomplished.
Yeah, and I remember that now that's all done with dollars that we're not having to borrow, so it's not done with deficit. And we all know deficits all seem like a good idea at the time, and we know what happened after 40 years of deficits in the 1990s when Paul Martin and Jean Chrétien had to cut billions and billions and billions of dollars out of health care, out of education, out of the armed services. So when Justin Trudeau and I can't even say Thomas Mulcair because he's for balanced budget, so that's good. But they want to put in small, and we all know small deficits never start out. The deficits in the 1970s all started out small too. And by the time they ended, they were $40 and $50 billion a year, and that is future. It's tax cuts and tax increases on the future. Like all of those bills all come due eventually. So that's that. I know we all know that the bill comes in. So we just like to remind everybody all the things you could lose. And the other big one I think is what I think, or two. There's 2 that I'm really proud of. The one is the big heavy lift aircraft that we bought before our government came in 2006. Whenever there was a disaster in the world, and we've got some amazing people in our armed forces that can help anyone in the world. Well, but we had to wait till we could rent a Russian plane to take DART or pick people up. And when the earthquake in Haiti happened, some of the first jets to land there were those big Canadian planes. So we didn't have to wait around for 3 weeks and try to hitchhike our wonderful armed forces. Those big planes. Lend us planes anymore. But I don't know if we would run or rent them. So those big planes in Canada, like we're a real country, if we want to take our armed forces somewhere and help a nation like the Philippines or Haiti when we want to help, Canadians demand the government help, and we have the armed forces ready to go. Now they don't have to sit on the tarmac waiting for 3 weeks till everybody else has ferried their stuff over. So that is a big one. And the other one that I think is very important is we all remember what happened in New Brunswick where the 3 police officers were shot and killed. And when that guy went to trial, and they had a trial, and he was found guilty, and he got 75 years in jail. If the Liberals or the NDP were in government, that guy would have been in jail for 15 years and be able to get out after. Now, he might not have been able to get out. He probably, and people, oh no, he might not have been able to get out. After 15 years, you can go for parole. But every 2 years, after 15 years, the family would have had to come in and sit there across from this person and tell the parole board why you shouldn't get parole. Clifford Olson, we all know Clifford Olson was never going to get out, but every 2 years, Clifford Olson could sit across from the mother and say, I murdered your son, I raped him, and I loved it. And he would torture the mothers and the fathers. And eventually he died in prison, of course. But not before. Every 2 years, the family had to go in. So this guy now in New Brunswick will be in jail 75 years and never be able to. I guess in 75 years he can apply for parole, but I guess he has to eventually. And I think that's it's hard to remember, but maybe we should take a couple, if anybody has any questions or anything. Yes?
I'm proud that you stand with Israel.
Thank
Well, that's another one.
Extremely important.
That's a very, because it is the only democracy in that part of the world. And sometimes my husband gets in trouble for that, and then they say, well, we want to be an honest broker, like the other parties want to be. You know, there's enough people in the world attacking Israel. Can we not be, I think I agree with you, and Canadians coast to coast, millions of Canadians agree with that, and sometimes my husband will say that in a speech and get a huge standing ovation somewhere in the interior BC or northern Alberta. It is something we as Canadians could be very proud of, and I know that lots of people are going, so that's a good one. Yeah, thank you. Yes?
That's the only reason I stand with you.
Well,
For Israel.
well, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? There's got to be somebody.
Wow, this is not the forum.
This is an
Thank you,
easy
folks.
crowd.
There might be a couple people in here who want the long gun registry back.
Yeah, that's
We're
what.
awfully close to getting tossed off the dock.
Well, I don't have to tell you what I think. I'm from rural Alberta, so I can tell you that's not very. It's not very. It's funny where I grew up. They had like gun racks in the back. You don't see gun racks anymore. But anyway,
I have fishing poles over there.
Fishing pole holders or whatever. So yeah. So, and again, the other parties, the members, we know that the NDP, they're not allowed to have a different opinion, but they always whisper, oh, I'm really against it, and I'll fight for you in caucus. Well, I'm sorry, but you should have the proper thing when you stand up ahead of time.
Put on your boots.
Yeah, exactly. Put on your big girl panties and get up there. Yes?
So I don't have a question, I just have a comment, and I think, Laureen, this is the first time I've heard you speak, and I'm so privileged to feel that you're in this small group in Kenora, Ontario, and sharing a piece of yourself and standing behind your husband. That it's really nice to meet you.
It's wonderful to come to this wonderful part of the world. So I'm getting the wrap it up finger. So do you have anything else to add?
I just want to say thank you, folks. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Harper. Thank you for...
Volunteer on October 19th. Drive people to the polls.
Yeah.
That's the big one, isn't it? Getting people to the polls.